A Meeting in the Sky, written by Rina Singh, illustrated by Jordi Vila. Two boys, two continents, one dream, to fly. The farm boy lived in America. One day, a famous airplane company stopped in a town near his farm, offering plane rides to people for a fee. But the boy was poor, so he gazed at the plane from the edge of the crowd. When it took off, he ran after it, flapping his arms, pretending to fly. The pilots were amused, so they offered him a free ride. The boy flew over fields and forests. He flew over his family's farm. From high up, all of the houses looked like toys. The forest beneath was a blur, and he wanted to reach out and touch the clouds. In that moment, a dream was born. Even though his mother wanted him to become a priest, the boy followed his own path. He grew up to become a pilot in the Air Force. The city boy lived in Germany. He would run from his house at the sound of an airplane to look up at it. His father was a pilot and owned a glider club. The boy chased the soaring wooden gliders when pilots took off into the sky. When he turned 12, his father strapped him into the seat of one and hauled him up in the sky to launch his flight. But instead of gradually taking off, the glider went up like a rocket as his father watched in horror. "Push forward!" he shouted. When the boy pushed, the glider nosedived into the ground. He crashed his first flight but survived. The glider was not built for the slight weight of a boy. A few months later, he took to the skies again with a sandbag tied around his waist. His brother told him to follow the eagles. They knew where the good wind was. And this time, the boy was whisked off into the air. He flew over hills and rivers, touching clouds. "I want to fly every day," he told his father when he touched the ground. The city boy grew up and became an airline pilot, flying passengers from one place to another. One day, the world went to war. Many countries fought the war over land, on sea, and in sky. The farm boy and the city boy became soldiers of the sky. The war made them enemies. The war made a big mess of the world. A few days before Christmas, the American pilot, on a combat mission, flew a fierce plane to bomb the cities of the enemy. He dodged and weaved in a sky lit up with gunfire. Bullets made big holes in his plane, and one of the engines died. The bomber's nose was gone, and the radio room blown apart. The guns froze, and, without one of the engines, the plane slowed down. The other planes in his formation left him behind. He flew alone. That's when the American pilot saw the enemy's plane on his tail. It was the German pilot. He had seen damaged planes return from battle, but this he had never seen. A plane so beat up that he wondered how it was still flying. Shooting it down would win him his country's highest medal. He flew closer and looked through the ripped frame. He saw wounded men huddled together, protecting each other. He thought of his own brother he had lost in the war and wondered what he would have done. He remembered his father's words, "Always do the right thing, even when no one is looking." For a moment, he forgot he was a fighter pilot. He made a decision that could ruin him. The German pilot flew his plane side by side with the enemy and forced him to turn his plane in another direction, toward the sea. The American pilot froze in fear. He felt he was living in a nightmare. Where were they heading? Why didn't the German pilot shoot them? What was he waiting for? The German pilot then flew his little plane beneath the big one to protect it from the guns from the ground. They were still in German territory. The American pilot was too stunned to realize that he was being steered to safety. Before they reached the sea, both planes flew side by side one more time. And when the American pilot looked out the cockpit window, the German pilot raised his hand to salute and turned back. The American pilot, still in shock, flew his crippled plane over the sea and landed on the other side. The war went on for 2 more years, ravaging countries, destroying lives, and then it was over. Both pilots went home. They married, had children, and grew older, but they never forgot their secret meeting in the sky. Almost 45 years passed. The German pilot thought of the secret encounter every single day. For many years, he searched for the pilot whose life he had spared, always wondering, was it worth it? What happened to the American pilot and his crew? Did they live or crash into the sea? The American pilot suffered from nightmares, and the image of the enemy's salute was frozen in his mind. Why had he let them go? Was he out of ammunition, or was he just a good man? He, too, searched for the unknown German pilot for many years. He decided to put an advertisement in a German war magazine for former fighter pilots. In it, he mentioned the place, the time, and some details of the encounter. He also wrote his address, where he could be reached. Many months later, he found a letter in the mail with foreign stamps. It was from Canada. Dear C, I was the one. All these years, I wondered what happened to you and your plane. I wanted to know if you were able to save your crew. I tried to find you, but without any luck. I am happy now that you made it, and it was worth taking the risk. Yours, F. This belief turned into excitement. The American pilot invited the German pilot for a meeting. When they came face to face, they looked at each other for a long time. The German pilot raised his hand to salute the American pilot, just like he had done in the sky. They hugged each other and cried. The enemies became friends for life. Two boys, two continents, one dream to fly. Epilogue. A meeting in the sky was inspired by a true incident that took place on December 20th, 1943. Charlie Brown, an American B-17 pilot, was on his first mission when Franz Stigler, a German ace pilot, pulled up his Me-109 on the bomber's tail. The American bomber had been badly damaged by German anti-aircraft guns, and Charlie was struggling to save his crew. Franz could have easily destroyed the bomber, but the sight of the crippled plane and the injured crew put him in a moral dilemma. The meeting in the sky lasted only 10 minutes, but it would go down in the history of World War II as the most remarkable encounter between enemies. Franz escorted the plane as far as he safely could to the North Sea and hoped it would make it to England. Before turning around, Franz saluted Charlie. For Franz, revealing the incident could mean a court-martial or even execution. Charlie barely made it to England, saving all his men except the tail gunner. When Charlie confessed the enemy helped him, his superiors forbade him to discuss the incident with anyone. The mission was declared secret. Decades after the war's end, Charlie, still haunted by the salute, began searching for the unknown German pilot to whom he owed his life. After 46 years, Charlie found Franz, who had by then immigrated to Canada. The second meeting changed the course of their lives one more time.